It's dark and I got the kayaks loaded. That can only mean one thing. It's kind of hard to see because it's 4 o'clock in the morning, but I have got 2 kayaks loaded up. Now the one over there is mine. That's the Pelican Catch Classic 100. The other is a Old Town. It is the Predator PDL. It is a 14-foot monster. It's basically a pedal powered barge on the water. Super comfortable. Makes me very envious of the person that'll be using it. So today we're going fishing on a lake that they're draining down. We just had a front come through. The winds will be about 9 to 10 miles per hour. Not ideal kayak conditions. Coming from northwest. And temperature right now is 54 degrees and will be dropping all day long. So this is going to be interesting to try to fish in conditions that I don't normally get an opportunity to fish in. Plus I am fishing with a perforated eardrum, and so I'm gonna have to deal with that as well. So stick around and let's see what ensues. Alright, my buddy Josh is right now out on the water. He's out in his 14-foot pedal, and so we're fixing to get my rig going. I'm in a Pelican Catch Classic, so we're gonna get this out. Of course, mine's a paddle, his is pedal, so hopefully we'll have some good fishing content. All right, we're out on the water here. Wind is blowing this kayak around like crazy. I got my foot caught in the muck and about tipped over about 2 or 3 times already, because this is some mucky, nasty stuff. And in the process, all of my B-roll cameras, the mounts broke because it's so freaking cold. So the glue gave way, the epoxy, all that gave way, and I am dealing with grass like crazy. Josh is up ahead of me, and we're gonna try to get out here and do something as soon as I can get through these water lilies. Good grief, just nothing but that is everywhere in the water, that grass. It's crazy. I believe it's called Calurpa, but it's everywhere. And that's the reason why they're draining this lake, is to get rid of that. That's the whole reason why everything is having to suffer, is because of the vegetation being too crazy. If you'll notice, there's areas of ripples and then there's flat areas. The ones with flat areas, the reason why it's that way is that grass is up to the top, but that grass is like 12 foot long, 13 foot long or longer. And so even though this is deep water here we're in, that grass came up to the top and just flowing over. So the base of this grass right here I'm looking at, it might be even more than 12 foot away from the tip. So this is like a small jungle growing up in here. It's nuts. I don't know if you can see it, but there is a bald eagle overhead. Freaking awesome. Just to show you what I'm battling here, this is what I'm trying to paddle through here. Just gobs of grass. This nonsense. I've got a little catch on this Ozark Trail thing that's supposed to help, but it's actually, the serrations are acting as a weakness in this category. And the reason why I'm in this stuff is that my seat came undone from my Pelican. They don't have a clip on the seat, so I had to beach myself to fix the seat because I was about to fall out of the kayak. Now I'm about to fall out of the kayak because of the grass. Yeah. And once I get past the grass, it's open water for a little bit and then more grass. This is nothing but just a salad garden right here. Just tons and tons. So this is about 12 foot of grass I've had to paddle out. And then I wish you could see the bottom, but it's just more and more grass as you go on. Eventually it does die out a little bit. You probably can't see that well, but I am fighting heavy wind gusts. Finally found one spot without any grass and just trying to get to an area where we could anchor and fish. But everywhere we throw, just getting hung up on grass with the jigs, or the wind is just blowing you around like crazy. We got probably about 15 mile per hour wind gusts and a good steady 8 mile per hour wind at least. So we may end up calling this one a done deal in a minute. Josh is having a problem with his pedal kayak. The propeller's getting caught, and as soon as he finds an open stretch of water, use the pedals, then he hits a stretch of grass. Me, I don't have any pedal. I'm lighter with this Pelican, way lighter than the Old Town, but in doing this I have no ability to make much headroom, so I am burning tons of calories trying to fight the wind. So we're going to check out this little area here. If nothing looks good, we're probably going to call it quits for a day. You know, somebody asked me one time if where I fish has alligators. Yes. In fact, while I was filming the last segment, Josh was up ahead and he saw a log they thought was free floating. And so he looked back to tell me that there's a floating log, to be careful of it. And he saw us recording, so he didn't say anything. When he turned his head to look back, the log was gone, which means it wasn't a log. That was a gator. And even though it's about 30 degrees, gators will be out in these conditions. They don't always go and hibernate like people say they do, especially in Florida. So yeah, something to always be aware of. Yes, there's alligators everywhere, even at the beach. So there's that. Got my first crappie ever. There we go. Let's go, guys. Found the only spot in this lake that had any clear water. Awesome. Oh, I was gonna say too, in the state of Florida, we don't really call this a crappie. We call this a speckled perch, which you can see that it's really a black crappie, but we call them speckled perch. Just something to think about, just so that you can see what's going on. The wind is blowing me around and around and around. It's going all different directions. So all I'm doing is just kind of jigging this up and down as the wind blows me. And the idea is that when I get into an area where there might be some speckled perch, crappie, that one will see this as like crippled minnows or something like that and strike. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just sitting here jigging, letting the wind blow me around in the kayak. I don't have a depth finder, but until I got to this area, a depth finder wouldn't have worked because it was so much grass that you wouldn't been able to see anything. It's only until I got here that I was actually able to see, you know, clear water and do something. And that's evidently where the fish are. And that crappie was right there on the edge of a grass line, so it was feeding on prey. So I'm going to try to get back over around the grass line and see if I can't get me another one. Oh God, got off. All right, so my battery died on me, but I caught a third one. So there we are. They all seem about cookie cutter size, which is pretty normal for speckled perch. I probably could have caught 2 or 3 more if I hadn't been trying to mess with the battery and get everything for y'all on YouTube, but I wanted y'all to see this. I want to share my experiences, so that's the reason why I do it. So we're going to continue on, catch another. Got something on here. I don't know what I got, but I got something. Good God. I think I got my anchor is what I got. Pretty sure I got my anchor. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got my anchor. Yep. I caught an anchor, folks. Well, the bite quit. Something you can't handle, but great memory. First, second, and third speckled perch ever in my life. I'm 46. Shows you how many speckled perch or crappie that we have here in Florida. Not much. And I've probably fished this lake at least 100 times, if not more. Never caught a speckled perch here. So, just something, you know, thought it'd be a neat little thing to do. For a lot of people, y'all already have that. You're used to catching, you know, dozens of them every time you go out. Not something you do here in Florida. Not unless you're in one of those few areas that have large numbers. There's not that many. I just thought I'd share this with you. Thanks for tagging along with me. Okay, so I know a lot of people are going to ask what I actually used. It's just a little Bobby Garland paddle tail crappie lure in monkey milk. I did just a simple double system. Used to tied the first one on the bottom and then did a dropper loop for the second one. It was on 10-pound test monofilament. I was using a very old spinning combo. It's a Shakespeare. They don't even make that type anymore. But it was just a simple spinning reel. I used, I think it's like 25-pound test braid. The reason why I use 10-pound test monofilament, you can't hardly find anything lighter in my area. Mainly because the snags and everything are so bad that lighter line you're just going to break off every single time. I don't even like using 10-pound test. But you kind of need 10-pound test for the jigs. The jig heads were Strike King brand. I had an orange jig head on there, and they were 1/32 ounce. And what it is, I just trimmed off that little lead tag, and cannot find unwaxed dental floss in my area. No store carries it. So I used white sewing thread where the lead was that normally holds your jig on, or the grub onto the jig. I just took white sewing thread, and I had Harbor Freight super glue that I used. Going forward, if I was to do it again, I would probably do something like Loctite or Gorilla Super Glue, because the Harbor Freight super glue broke down super fast in that water. So it's definitely not good to use. But that was pretty much the setup. I used a heavier action rod. So it's a heavier rod. It's not a lighter action like an ultralight or sow belly or anything like that. The reason why I have found you need a stiffer rod when you're in a kayak to get those hook sets. And there was so much of that grass. I'm thinking it's Callirpa. I'd have to look at it, but I think it's Callirpa. That grass, whatever it was so strong, it was so bad that when the crappie hit, it felt like I was dragging grass. And then you'd feel the vibration going, okay, I got a fish. Otherwise, you just thought you was hung in grass again. So, I mean, it was a very weird bite. Again, this is my first time ever catching crappie. I'll be 47 very soon, and this is the first time I've ever caught crappie in this area. If you look at the state of Florida's Fish and Wildlife Management website, the FWC, or you read any of their publications, there's only like 4 counties that are considered good for crappie in the whole state, and we have 67 counties. So that should tell you what the crappie situation is in Florida. So that's something I just wanted to add to that. Something I will say, I did use frog togs. So frog togs is a type of foul weather gear, wet weather gear. Fairly inexpensive. They work. I mean, they just work. And so I made sure that I had that on because I knew it was cold, it was windy out there, and that kept me pretty much dry. I had some water resistant boots on, so they were hiking boots that were rubberized. It's hard for me to get boots that fit because I wear a size 14 quad E shoe. So that is extra, 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 extra wide in a size 14. So these were basically hiking boots. I can't find rain boots or waders or anything that fits me. So that's what I had. It really did help. Another thing you'll see right here, I used some foam earplugs. That helped with the wind. That kept that wind out of that bad ear. Another issue I found with my Pelican kayak, there's no type of clip or anything when the seat goes into the kayak. And for the first time ever since owning this kayak, out in the water, out middle of the lake, I was moving, just trying to turn, and when I did, that's when the seat came undone. I had to go back to shore because it was like that, and I was about to fall out. Let's talk about the kayak situation for a minute. So this is where the seat goes in, and that's what I was talking about. There's no latch mechanism, and you have it in the back as well. Now there's also some little areas here where if you want to sit lower, you can sit lower. But right here, it's hard to see with the shadow, but you can see it right there. Somehow, some way, that what you do is you have this strap here that it goes around your seat, the front of your seat, the metal, and then you have this little binder thing. And as I was turning whatever, somehow this slipped out. Normally it's pretty good, but somehow it slipped. And when that happened, one side came undone, so it was sitting up, and this was sitting out. And actually it was sitting back here, it fell down into here. And so I was off. And so I wish they would have like a latch that clipped over those four ends to hold them in place, because that'd be more secure than that one dinky strap there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fillet these out, but because of YouTube's community standards, if there's any blood, if there's any type of exposed entrails, anything of that nature, YouTube considers it to be gore, and they'll demonetize you. So for that reason, I'm not going to show me filleting these out, but when I get done filleting these out, we'll cook them up. In this pan here, I have some hog jowl. That's what I had on hand. It's equivalent to roughly about 4 pieces of thick cut bacon cut into lardons, so I'm just frying it out. Okay, this is nice and browned. I'm going to take out the meat and pour out or reserve most of the oil. I'm just going to keep about 1 tablespoon in the pot, maybe 2 tablespoons, and that's for 1 small Spanish onion diced. Alright, Spanish onion is in there. Spanish onion is nothing more than diced or yellow onion. And this is diced, it's just a real small onion that I used. With that in there, we're going to stir it, bring it up to a simmer, and then we'll add in our other spices and seasonings. We got in here a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. roughly a half tablespoon of dried minced onions. This will kind of boost up that onion flavor a little bit. About a half tablespoon of yellow mustard. And about 4 tablespoons of barbecue sauce. Now we're going to add some black pepper to taste. Of course, I use peppercorn medley from McCormick's, which has not only white peppercorns and pink peppercorns and black peppercorns and all that, but also has coriander and allspice. Now we're going to toss back in our meat and stir. Alright, I just put this into a casserole dish and I'm going to put it in the oven. Once I bring it up to a heat, I let it simmer for about 3 minutes. Then I put it in the casserole dish. For this one, it's a 9 by 9, and I'm going to let it bake at 375 for about 25 minutes. Now I got some French fries going. Alright, they're fried up now in a breading of 2 parts yellow cornmeal to 1 part flour with a little bit of salt and pepper added. Alright, so this right here is Northwest Florida on a plate. So we got dill slaw, fried fish, fried potatoes, cheese grits, and baked beans. Now I'm going to eat this with my wife and I'll check back in with you in just a moment. So the wife and I, we enjoyed it. I was amazed at how crappie tastes like sway fish, or what they call black cod. There's a local Chinese restaurant that they serve sway fish fried, and it's one of my favorite things. It's a very sweet, clean meat, and that's the same flavor I get with the crappie. So speckled perch, definitely something I'll be targeting in the future. I don't know how many more times I'll be able to attempt to get it. Like I said, we don't have massive numbers, so I can understand somebody that they come from a region where, you catch them all the time. You can catch 100. You can catch, just dozens, all you want, and you can sort through and sift. We don't have that. I wish we did, but we don't. I can understand the allure of this fish. I think it's so neat. It's got a bunch of different names. For instance, in Louisiana, they call it sac-a-lait. Sac-a-lait, if you translate it out, means milk bag. There is a belief that is supposed to be because of its white, reflective look when it's coming through the water. However, a lot of people have said that it's actually the Choctaw word that they stole that from, saclé, which means trout. Ironically, the French Canadians, they're the ones that we get crappie from. Crappie is a term for sunfish. So most places refer to crappie as some sort of bass. Strawberry bass, Oswego bass, calico bass. It's really weird that it is related to bass in a lot of ways in our culture. Although like Choctaws, they consider it a trout. It don't look anything like a bass. It don't look anything like a trout. Don't look anything like a sunfish. It really is deserving of its own term, its own merit. The Latin term actually means, I believe it's spiny gill, because it has gill plates, which I think is interesting that that's what they name it after. But I just think it's so neat that it has so many names. Tell me what you call it where you live. I know that Michigan, they call them specks. But here in Florida, we call them speckled perch, which they're not perch either. But specks are something that we reserve for speckled trout, which is a sea trout. So if you say specks around us, it's a totally different fish. So I just love how different areas have different names for this. Please tell me what you like to call it. Also, what do you use to catch them? What's your favorite lure or setup? If I go back, I'll probably do a jig and bobber setup. I think that'd be better on the kayak. Again, this was my first time ever doing this. My first time ever eating this fish. I am not saying I'm an expert at this, but I just want to take you on this journey, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again next time. Bye.